Hey there, welcome to Framework. This is John, one of the hosts of Framework, and with me, as always, is the other host, Al. How you doing, Al?
I am doing well. I'm not going to attempt the accent. I also think it's harder. I'm a little too close to the accent to do it. Like if you're coming from farther away, it might be easier to find your way in. Like I think I could get into a Boston thing like easier than a Minnesotan.
I think it's right there. I think it's right under the skin. You just don't want to be offensive, and I don't mind that personally because I don't know anybody with that accent. We're talking about Fargo, of course. We're doing a Fargo season 5 episode today, and that's why I sounded like that. So I don't know. Have we've talked about Fargo before? It's been a while, of course, because it's been a while since Fargo was around.
Yeah. The last season ended kind of early days, and we had just started doing this. And that was one pretty widely panned, the 4th season.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say it still ranks at the bottom of the heap. But I rewatched the entire series, actually, leading up to the 5th series. Cause I also had 2 COVID quarantines in the same month earlier this fall.
That'll do.
So I don't know. I guess I was avoiding watching some new thing that I was intending to do, and I just got kind of, I hadn't seen the first season, the Martin Freeman, Billy Bob. That one's 10 years old now, and
my goodness,
hadn't seen it since then. Held up pretty well, and then I just kept rolling. And I still like the 4th season quite a bit, but I think it goes. Second season's the best.
Yeah,
followed by the first.
Yep.
Followed by the 3rd, which keeps just sneakily, it's sticky with me. That one sticks with me, and it's crowded with my rankings. I guess this one goes above season. The season rank goes above season 4, but I think they're kind of close together in my books. But I think that's because I rank 5 lower than some people and 4 higher than some people.
I think I go 4 or 5 personally. I like 4 more than this. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. I was more positive on 4, I think, than most people as well. But it was clearly the worst at that point. After 1, 2, 3, it was a step down, and I think this season 5, I think it's a bit more of a step down too. I'm afraid.
Well, I think the thing is, for me, it goes like this: is that season 4 of Fargo is, in a way, it's hardest to defend because it is the least well constructed of all.
It is.
That is a major strength of Fargo, is that it's sort of this immaculate construction.
It used to be that, yes.
Kind of Rube Goldberg plots that when they work are very fun and satisfying to see play out. And I think season 5 is more of that. But season 4, it's the farthest from convention, both geographically, chronologically, it's the farthest from the Fargo template that they ever strayed. And I kind of appreciate that about it, even though I have to say, it does not cohere as well as season 5 does, for example.
I think that being different, being dissimilar is what I like about season 4. I think it has issues, obviously, but I think overall the fact that it's trying some different stuff and some wild swings and some things we hadn't seen from the show before is interesting. Season 5, on the other hand, feels to me kind of like going back to the well and being like, well, you like this stuff, right? Here's the Fargo stuff you like. And to my mind, diminishing returns is starting to set in here, which is sort of my big Fargo take. I'm a little bit, I don't know, man. I think we may be starting to tap this well as we go back to it. I think it's kind of getting to the point where I have seen enough ageless mythic killing machines wandering around, living by sort of this unknowable personal code and posing as sort of a representation of the eventual death of everything. And I'm just kind of like, it's becoming formulaic.
But me. Is that exactly the thing? Because I guess that you could say that's Billy Bob in the first season, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's varying degrees of supernatural. Even him, Lauren Malvo, is a little bit on the border.
Yeah.
He's kind of maybe supernatural. Zahn McClarnon in second season is probably the best version of it.
But he's not an immortal supernatural being.
No, not exactly. No, but he's not supernatural, but he is sort of uncanny. At least he's
A little.
yeah. But he's really good. He's Chigurh, I guess. He's probably the least supernatural. Varga, David Thewlis in third season, also kind of supernatural. I guess the fourth one didn't have it, which one of the reasons I kind of like that one. I mean, I guess it had versions of it, sort of, a little less defined. And then this one, of course, has the most familiar version of it in Ole Munk. Yeah.
Well, I'm splitting hairs here, perhaps, but Varga is not an unstoppable killing machine. He's sort of an unstoppable force of evil, but he's not. With Hansi in season 2 and Munk in season 5, especially, they are in the Chigurh mold of being this just sort of unstoppable, like implacable physical force. And Billy had some of that, but also it just. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is Varga and Malvo seem more of a piece to me than Malvo and Munk, because of they're the talkative ones. They're loquacious.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't necessarily mean that's the problem, is that we got these Anton Chigurhs running around. I mean, it's just that there's a lot of different things we've seen from Fargo. And I think that what was so amazing about this show to start with was that you were able to take so many Coen Brothers tropes and create something unique and original and effective with them. And it didn't just feel like repetition and reducing it to formula. And I think we're kind of getting to the point where we're reducing it to formula a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of unavoidable after 5 years. And every show develops a formula. I mean,
this ran a lot longer than I would have expected it to.
Well, I mean, even, what show did, I mean, The Sopranos had a formula of a type, Game of Thrones is very sprawling and kind of all over the place, but you got a sense even 5-6 years in, like, well, this plot line's not going to end well. Like, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want that to happen to the Coen brothers, though. Exactly. No. That's sort of that defies everything that their movies feel like to me. Even as they have so many, as this show has pointed out, so many recurring ideas and themes and motifs. They never feel like, well, I mean, you're watching a Coen brothers film, but they all feel unique. Not unlike Wes Anderson. It's they're really good filmmakers, and they're able to kind of continue to put their predilections and interests into different combinations that are feeling original and say something new each time. And now we're in the fifth season of a television show based on the works of them, and I'm kind of just like, it's feeling less fresh, that's for sure. It has very little ability to surprise me anymore.
I would say they're I mean, the works of the Coens are more differentiable than Wes Anderson's, but that goes for anybody.
Okay, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That's going to get us hung up. I apologize.
Yeah. No, that's not even to be a knock on Wes Anderson. But I don't know. I feel what you mean. I mean, look, this still managed to surprise me quite a bit. Just when we got to Monk's backstory, that was that was as delighted as I've been with TV in quite a while.
That was good. I mean, kind of not really, didn't really amount to much, but it was interesting. It was fun. Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of the crux of the entire finales in a way, but I take your point nonetheless. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is strange that we're in this position where this is at once the wildest, most unpredictable show on TV that will do something like that Sin Eater backstory that no other show will do. And yet something about it feels like, yeah, okay, this fits the grooves that I'm familiar with now. And maybe it loses some punch after a while. I think for me, what the biggest strike against this season is it made me realize that I am not on the Juno Temple train.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah.
I don't think she was. Well, I don't even think she was bad necessarily.
She wasn't bad. That's not what I would say, but
I think there's something. I mean, I hate to just focus on her looks so much, but there's something so bizarre looking about her that I never quite stopped just like looking at her face and trying to figure out, like, are you beautiful or are you kind of hideous? I can't. You're writing some line that I cannot quite get my brain over.
I mean, there's an argument that that's what it takes to be a movie star. Honestly, is having that sort of just striking look. It's not necessarily a classical definition of being gorgeous, just being just like striking. I don't even know if I call Juno Temple that, but like,
Well,
she does have a unique face, and that's
right.
something, that you don't forget it. I just don't think I mean, I don't think she was bad exactly. I don't think this character was good. I'm afraid it was not a well written character, and I don't think she helped it much either. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think a different actress might have been able to sell this more, because I think.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I'll give you one that looks like her and is also British. Carrie Condon could have crushed this.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, a little too old, but yeah.
Would that have mattered? I guess she's supposed to be a lot
Yeah.
younger than John Hamm, but whatever.
Yeah.
She's still younger than John Hamm.
Well, and Carrie Condon's somebody who presents way younger than her actual age anyway, so
Mhm.
I give you that. But like I said, if it's not that one, there's a half dozen others
Right.
that also would fit. I think. Well, one of the problems here is this is probably 7 or 8 episodes of story that had to be scraped over 10 episodes of content, just because that's what the order is for.
I guess so. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At the same time, there's characters that I wanted more of. Like, I didn't feel like
Totally.
I always, the entire way through, I was bummed when Lamorne Morris took the loss in the end, and that was partly because the entire season long, I was like, when are we going to get his episode? I don't want. I mean,
a standout for giving they gave him nothing, and he was still a standout this season. He was great. Like that guy a lot in it. Yeah.
He's just pretty reliable in stuff,
Mhm.
whether it's credit union commercials or New Girl or whatever. But I think part of the thing that they're trying, from the formula perspective too, to get away from having the police officer be the paragon of decency. That is,
I miss it, honestly.
Yeah, a little bit. And I always think, like, well, even just making him a black guy in Minnesota, like, changes up that dynamic enough
Mm-hmm.
that he can be a little more the underdog and the outsider. And also they kind of split that up between 2 decent cops.
Yeah.
This time, but neither of them had enough to do. So
I
maybe
would agree. I would agree. I think that they lost a little with splitting that into 2 people, probably. And I don't think the narrative justified that necessarily. And I liked them both. I think they both had enough to kind of, carry the show in that way. And I think you needed somebody to be the, ostensible protagonist rather than Juno Temple, who is just, deliberately unknowable for 2/3 of the season. And then you get her backstory and you're just like, oh, that's about what I imagined. But it still doesn't really explain who she is.
Yeah, that's part of what I mean by this being, it's 7 or 8 episodes worth, because there's a couple too many episodes where I'm like, okay, we got in the opening, in the premiere, that she is a housewife with deeper depths and a darker past and a skill set that is surprising. And then it feels like we kind of tread water in that space, just sort of demonstrating that over and over without learning any more about her for like 5 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And that just feels like, we're stretching this out over too much time. And maybe in the shorter version, you condense those 2 cops into one character and they get a longer shrift. I don't know.
Well, if this was to be an 8-episode season, I think that probably would have helped. Even as I did want kind of more of a lot of these characters. But there would have been a way to, maybe make the brevity a strength. As it is, like you said, it feels like it kind of needed a little bit more plotting or something, which usually is not a problem you have with Fargo.
No, and okay, let's switch to some things that I love about Fargo.
Yeah, there's good stuff. I don't want to be all negative here.
Yeah, it's still probably my favorite thing currently running on TV. Like this, I even saying this is below the standard of the first 3 seasons, I think it's a solid B+. And it was, watched it every night, the night of. And one of the things I like about Fargo, it hits some like sweet spots for me, I just think, in terms of, it is at once the most plot driven show on TV and like the most theme driven show on TV.
Hmm. I like
And
those. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, and that's a very fine line to walk because, of course, once you step over the theme line, you get into just pretentious drivel. And for some people, I'm sure the Fargo has walked right over that line sometimes. For me, I like that it is clearly that there are ideas at work, and yet they're not ideas that I feel like I grasp fully and immediately on the first one. The end of it, there's always something hanging out there at the end of a Fargo season that I'm still kind of mulling over in my head about what was that UFO about? Like, did that thing work? What's going on with that bowling alley? Do I know what they're saying with this, and do I agree with it if I do? And I kind of like that, and the reason why the grounding of the plotness of it, it's so plotty that they're very very twisty, big ensemble cast, a lot of different people working a lot of different angles at once, and they interact and intersect in interesting ways. And because this is not a lot of, I guess, theme driven shows seem to look down their nose at plot, and Fargo does not do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel like Mad Men, The Sopranos, and some of its pointy-headed moments. There's like, oh, well, you thought this was going to be a gang war, but we're not interested in that. We're just interested in American ennui. And Fargo's kind of like, no, we can do the gang war. The American ennui will be in there too, but we'll do the gang war.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's the benefit of having closed loop stories, perhaps, is that these things always have to come to a head because they end. And,
right.
Sort of a big hallmark of the series is a big body count and some horrible
Absolutely.
deaths probably along the way. You're going to lose some of these characters. I think that's why you have such good, strong casts. People coming in and playing because they know it's a 1-season commitment. And it's fun to see who all they can get. And this season is no exception there. This is a stacked cast as ever there were one. And varying results, I would say, but some of these people are exceptional, as good as I've ever seen them in this season. So yeah,
I mean, let's just put a name on it. John Hamm is fantastic. Love it.
Yeah, MVP with a bullet. My God, I've always liked him, but my God, what a revelation of a performance. He's so fucking good in this show.
I mean, it's a great. I love the conception of that character. It's a very timely sort of villain that we haven't got, and Hamm is perfectly cast in it.
Which you wouldn't think. He's such an urban. I've always thought of him as such an urban character, and I'm sure that's just Mad Men. I'm sure that's just the Don Draper baggage, but because he doesn't read that way at all in this show.
Yeah, I mean, he's from St. Louis, so he's Midwestern by breeding. But of course, Mad Men is just such a seminal work of prestige TV, and it's so New York that he's always going to feel a little more New York than Missouri. But
yeah,
that.
Well, I'm not in this show, man. In this show, he feels Missouri's probably what I don't know. He's a North Dakota sheriff, and that seems right. I got to admit, I was a little disappointed at the beginning of the show because I was like, oh, I sure hope John Hamm is the mild mannered cop who stands for all that's good in the American soul. And it's like, nope, no, he is not.
Very much not.
He's the exact opposite of that, in fact. And he really rises to the occasion. He's played bad guys before, but this is definitely the best time he's been deployed as a villain. And man, what a villain! This is Sheriff Roy Tillman. I guess he is sort of representative of the American soul in some ways here, but not in a good way. This is everything wrong with us. This is conceived and oof. Well,
and even if you don't buy him utterly as the cowboy type, I think it kind of fits with the character that he's really like playing up the cowboy stuff.
Oh yeah.
For political and personal gain. And there's always something about him. It's a little winking about. Yeah, he basically believes all this stuff, but also he's kind of turning it up for the rubes.
Well, I mean, it's a means to power. It's a means to control. It's really interesting how he is introduced and how he is initially established. Right away he's a bad guy. He is the big swinging dick asshole sheriff, and he's out to get Juno Temple, and we find out pretty quick why. But he's introduced basically showing he's dispensing kind of extra legal justice to a wife beater.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an odd scene in the way it's staged and what he says, but at the end of the day is just like, like he's like, yeah, you don't beat your woman with no reason, and kind of thing, which you're like, oh, that's bad, but it's actually much worse. He's actually a much worse guy than that. Like his code is total bullshit. And yeah, he'll beat women with no reason very much. Don't worry about it.
Well, but it's okay when he does it,
Mm-hmm,
and it's a crime when you do it, which is what makes him sort of the representative of the MAGA movement to a huge degree. And that is, something interesting that Fargo has done now, sort of too, I think, of the more interesting takes on just the whole Trump era, Trump phenomenon. I mean, Fargo's predates Trump entering politics, but was always concerned with the American character and American experience as filtered through the upper Midwest. And the season 3 to me stands as sort of still the best response to Trump's initial election. And it's all about the sort of dangers and psychological damage of misinformation, and that has not gone away in the 6 or 7 years since then. And this one is more about the post-Trump era. Well, we're not really post him, but with the fallout and just the sort of with the schism in the American character, the feuds, and how it feels like there's sort of like no reproachment. No, I mean, there's nothing like no bridges to be built to Trump country is how it can feel a lot of the time. It's sort of about that, but finally it reveals itself in the end as being sort of more concerned with debt as the driving theme.
Kind of. It's interesting. I think like there is on top of, the quote unquote plot of this is about sort of a battered woman seeking emancipation and some measure of justice. And that's sort of the narrative, it's a battered woman versus her abuser. It's Sleeping with the Enemy or Enough, starring Jennifer Jill Lopez. But what it's actually about is kind of just two different brands of American evil clashing. And one is sort of that, the sort of thoughtless, religious fundamentalism, kind of posing as fundamentalism, but actually seeking power, MAGA movement stuff versus just vulture capitalism and the evils of the ruling class, as represented by Jennifer Jason Leigh, and it's the two of them clashing against one another in the final run of episodes, and that's kind of what it's actually about.
Well, kind of, yeah, and I mean, I would say that the Dot character is much more concerned with the emancipation than the justice.
But as an audience member, I'm more interested in the justice. I'll be honest.
Sure, but that's where we're getting to in the end there, and she's sort of caught between the vulture capitalism and the religious fundamentalist misogyny areas of it.
Yeah, bad meets evil stuff. Yeah.
But what she ultimately espouses is not so much justice as forgiveness,
right?
As sort of a path forward, and there's a way where it's that the best revenge is living well, I guess, but. I mean, I think that's what ties those two kind of disparate ideas together. I mean, because it is about, it's about debt and what is both like monetary debts, which are an increasingly large shaper of American society, and just the more generalized concept of debt and what do we owe to each other.
I mean, that's Ham's entire philosophy is that she owes him. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And that he twists that to try and keep her chained up, literally. And she is about forgiving debts, both sort of public and private, in the end, is what. And this is a much more, this felt like the most upbeat ending of all the seasons to me.
Yes, I almost think that the reason Lamorne Morris dies is just so it wasn't like a complete W for the good guys. I think that they were just like, well, it's got to be a little melancholy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, Dave Foley wasn't enough of a good guy for him to qualify on those grounds.
What a disappointment. That's like a great character on paper, and I don't know what they did with it.
I just go like, I wanted to lose the eye patch or the mustache. Just
the eye patch. Lose the
too
eye
much.
patch.
Yeah, leave the eye patch probably.
I really like Dave Foley. And I this character is it just screams Coen Brothers character. You know, like this is probably the goofiest and broadest they've, and it's just like they ran him through the costume room and just attached everything to him that they could find. And
there's a Mr. Potato Head quality to it.
And he has, I guess, a face turn that leads to his death at the end, and it is so perfunctory and so tacked on and so, I mean, barely motivated, not particularly explained, and it could have been great. That could have been fantastic. I think if they had given that a little bit more room to breathe, a little bit more, reasoning, then it might have really landed. But as it is, it just feels like, well, you know what? It's time for me to get killed by John Hamm right now. I think I'm going to go get killed by John Hamm.
John Hamm needs to reestablish his villainous bona fides, and he can't kill Juno Temple.
Mm-hmm.
So, ergo, somebody needs to walk into his jaws right now. But I did love the whole way that he tanked Hamm's election.
That was fun.
And the debate thing. That was a lot. That was a lot of fun.
And very like creative, like just from a writing perspective. It's not the way you would stage that scene normally, but it's quite good and it's interesting, and it's just like, well, that's very clever, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's the strength and the weakness of Fargo is how much you're saying, oh, that's very clever, and the first couple times you say that, you're very pleased, and then maybe at some point you turn on it and go, oh, how clever. And I never fully turn on it. It sounds like maybe you turned a little farther on that bend than I did. It's sounding like, but
I like the cleverness. I think there were moments this season that just weren't clever. I think there was a lot of stuff that was just like, could have used another pass on that one.
Oh, I loved all the Home Alone stuff.
I mean, that stuff, like the sequences in the middle where she is like, where Dot is running the table on the assassins out to get her. This play, like, it's like her eighth attempt at a Hitman video game level, where she knows when the guy's going to walk around the corner. So she's timed that out in advance, from the last playthrough. And it's, if the intention is to show what a badass she is, it doesn't work because it's so spontaneous and fortuitous.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, sure. It stretches believability, but also her opponent in some of it is an immortal sin eater moonlighting as a North Dakota hitman. Like,
yeah.
There's always that question of how much realism do you want from Fargo, and it is going to go specifically paranormal, if not or supernatural, at different times at some point in every season. Mm-hmm. So
this is the first time they've been explicitly paranormal, right?
Well, the zombie in season 4 was pretty explicit.
Oh God, I forgot about that. Yeah, okay.
But again, like not as actively involved in the plot.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the periphery for most of that season, and sort of shows up for one thing at the end. That again, it's like there are other ways to have done this. I don't know how you take the supernatural element out of this one and have things still really play out. I mean, I guess you could do a non-super. You can make it more questionable of like, is the sin eater thing all in his head? Is he just a psycho that believes that, or did this really happen? But no, it gives us that Chiron of Wales 500 years ago to be like, nope.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's important. I think you could take it out and that character would still function the exact same way. He's a weird hitman with a code. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, look, I've been complaining about Ole Munk. I think the performance is exceptional. Like the guy playing him does everything you could ask. It's a really good piece of acting. He's a lot of fun, really engaging. I just kind of tired of that trope.
And I kind of want more of him. And kind of there's a little too much of him almost, because it's like when he's messing around with the lady whose house he invades and all that stuff, it's like, okay, this is sort of mid-season Fargo villain wheel spinning because they can't encounter the hero in every episode, so they have to, there's a stretch in per season 1 where Billy Bob's just kind of off amusing himself for a while.
That's true.
With Oliver Platt.
There's quite a time jump in season 1, right? Isn't it like 3 years or something?
There is a time jump in every a pretty big time jump in every season of.
I suppose there is. Yeah. This one's at the very end.
Well, okay. So I'm actually I think because I've watched it all recently. So in the first season, the time jump I think is only 1 year, but it feels very momentous because it happens like suddenly in the middle of an episode, and you're surprised by that, and a lot happens in that jump.
Lots.
Like Martin Freeman and Molly Solverson have like gotten married or remarried, and are in completely different places all of a sudden, like 38 minutes into this episode. So yeah, that feels, maybe it's 2 years, but I think it's only 1 year really. And season 2 and season 4, they don't have big jumps necessarily, but they have stretches where it's like, and then this gang war went on for a couple months, and now we're a couple months later.
Right.
And then season 3 has a big one late in the game, and this one saved it for the back half of the finale episode, but got there. I guess that's another thing we've come to expect from Fargo is when's the time jump going to happen? In a way, this is very similar to how season 3 handled it, actually, because there's a time jump, and then Ewan McGregor's character there is sort of thinks everything has calmed down, and then somebody shows up at his house to murder him and out of revenge, and that's sort of exactly what Juno Temple's dealing with here. Although the results are different because it's not a 500-year-old sin eater in season 3's case. But what's interesting about, I guess, season 5, why it feels like the most happy ending, but upbeat version of this is it is sort of bookended by putting rosier spins on 2 big Coen brothers scenes. So the basic concept of the premiere episode is that what if Gene Lundegaard fought back against the kidnappers and foiled them? And that puts us in a different space than the Fargo movie. And then the idea of the finale seems to be like, what if when Shigura comes to kill Carla Jean Moss after all the dust is settled in No Country for Old Men, she, like, her refusal to engage with him actually like throws him off balance and brings him around to the side of the angels. And those are 2 rosier spins on the Coen brothers material. Yeah.
The end of this season. Okay. The big long 12-minute scene at the end of season 5 here, the final scene with Ole Monk in Dots.
It's a little 3-act play.
Yeah.
And kitchen and dining room. Yeah.
Good or bad for you? Did this work for you?
Yes. Good. Okay. Good. Great. This is kind of what I love about Fargo. This is why I'd say it does all the plot stuff, and then it does the theme stuff to wrap things up. Bow in the end, and I mean, it's not a very tidy bow. Usually, this is like I said, this is the tidiest one of them all. But I kind of like. We're going to have an episode recently about Last of the Mohicans soon, and I'm going to go on in that episode about how much I love that sort of like, okay, almost South Park. Like, what did we learn here? Thematic bow on the like monologue at the end of
well, that's a great
big
one.
Messy adventure.
That's a great one. This one,
but it's a trope I kind of like, I guess.
I like it when it's done well. This one, I was just like, well, it's kind of like, what if the end of No Country for Old Men was cute and nice? And it's just, I didn't feel a drip of tension in that sequence. I didn't think that there's any chance it was going to end with him killing anyone. Like, maybe he gets killed, maybe, but probably not. And that's as far as it would go.
It definitely, in terms of being a tense situation, it definitely fell completely flat for me. I had no concern for any of those family members at any point during that scene. Maybe if they hadn't killed the Warren Morris actually already, like the show had already taken its pound of flesh.
Right.
So like Monk's not taking his here. I know that. And it's just like, you're not going to put the Doc character through all this stuff and then just have her executed at the end.
No, of course not. Right.
Like there's just no, but I was still just like, because I mean, again, sort of the audacity of it, of like, this is an interesting swerve that I would not see. You know, I mean, the other thing I want to talk to you about today is the premiere of True Detective Night Country.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Mm-hmm.
True Detective is not going to do this.
No, he's going to kill everyone in that house in True Detective. Yeah,
or get killed, but everyone will be just totally. I mean, look, True Detective is not above doing a sum up. What did we learn today? epilogue after the case has been solved. But, and I don't know. I mean, look, all right, we talk about True Detective, I suppose now. Like,
are we done with Fargo? We
Because
didn't even mention Joe Keery. He's so good this year.
He's good. Another one, I kind of wanted more of that character. Though. I felt like I was missing one scene with him to complete his face turn.
Mm-hmm. Such as it is. There were individual set pieces I thought were great. I didn't love the hospital stuff so much, but I did really like the Nightmare Before Christmas home invasion. That was good with Joe Keery.
Yeah, the hospital is the one that felt most like the Hitman level.
Yeah, totally.
Of just like, oh, she knows which way they're going to be facing at any given moment, and that so she's able to play that perfectly. The home invasion stuff, again, like it's sort of a replay of what we saw the first time around, but I'm still just kind of having a good time with it. So, yeah,
stylish. Fun. And Joe Keery, real good. A lot of good performers throughout, doing good stuff. Good show. I don't know. I'm trying to wrap a bow on Fargo so we can talk about Night Country. You're down for season 6, right? So am I. I kind of want them to stop now, but if they do another, I'll watch it.
Well, I want to see his Alien show.
Me too. Do that. Maybe that's a fresh creative kind of endeavor that can take him in a new place. Noah Hawley.
I mean, and I didn't even occur to me until now that that's also like another sort of big IP that he is going to do a series on FX for, where he's presumably going to be riffing on alien iconography the way he does Cohen iconography, and that's more similar than I had thought. But like, whatever, a different milieu, because that's the most restrictive thing about Fargo. For as wild as it can be in its plotting and some of the swings it takes, it's still got to exist in this geographical area in a general time. It has to include certain elements that are kind of restrictive.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying Aliens restrictions are less restrictive, but they're different restrictions. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see him play with that. I've said so much about how much I love Fargo and the general approach and everything. And it seems like Noah Hawley should be like my favorite creative ever, based on how he's able to walk these lines exactly the way I like. But there's also Legion as an example out there. And that's one that totally lost me because it became so theme oriented that you lose track of the plot entirely.
I didn't do that. When I heard good things, I should get around to it. It's not too long, right? It's like 3 episodes of 10, something like that. 3 seasons of 10 episodes.
Yeah, 3. Yeah,
that seems doable.
And you could stop after the first one. I'd say that's the most interesting. It just gets weird. I couldn't even tell you what's going on in the second and third one. That's one where it shines a light on what's so good about the Fargo thing for him, and that part of the Fargo restrictions is you need to have decent salt of the earth people and normal people to contrast with the over the top capital E evil.
It's the genius of the original Fargo. Yeah, it's just great art. Yeah.
And in Legion, it quickly becomes a thing where there are no real people. There are no normal people in this show anywhere.
Gotcha.
And the plot is very esoteric because a lot of it's mutants with crazy Professor X mind powers clashing with each other. And so a lot of the stuff takes place in, astral planes and hallucinations and this
fun.
And that. And, it sounds fun, but I get a little exhausted.
If it has like Fargo plotting and characterizations and stuff, I'd probably be into that.
But it does, because Fargo's more earthbound.
Yeah.
I need the I mean, not, part of the thing we've talked about here is how not earthbound it is, because there's all the supernatural elements, but there's still things where you're going to have to improvise, a booby trap with what you have in the kitchen.
Right.
And you're not going to be able to use your magic mind powers to blast somebody into the astral plane. And look, maybe I think my hope is that Alien leans a little more towards the groundedness of still have to shoot these things with machine guns and all that. And there's a horror element that I'd like to see him play around with a little more, because Fargo can be very effective in that vein.
Yeah,
at times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down. I'm curious. I don't know how it works as a show. I almost kind of want him to do a Fargo approach, which is like an anthology, where each season is a different alien story. I think that'd be kind of fun. I doubt that's the case, but I don't know. It seems to be a good format for him and for shows in general.
Yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't do that, I don't think.
Yeah, you could.
I think that fits the Alien, IP pretty well, actually.
That would be my vote.
So speaking of other anthologies, True Detective. So what's the restrictions on True Detective? What does it have to be a True Detective story?
You know what? I think at this point that's very much an open question. It used to be, it has to be Nick Pizzolatto. Is that however you say that name? We've moved beyond him.
That's right.
And I would have said, I don't know. I mean, the dance between the supernatural and the crime story is, it's immediately present in the first season, but ultimately lands in crime story. The supernatural stuff is not actually happening per se, or maybe it is a little, but you're not in the way you could prove. It's a similar Fargo dance. The new season of True Detective, I'm almost like, I don't know how they can do this story if it's not at least a little supernatural. So, based
on one interview I heard with the creator of the new season, it seems like they are more comfortable going into the explicitly supernatural overtones than.
I mean, it does seem to be at odds with the name True Detective in a sense. That was the thing about season 1. It was kind of just like, well, I don't think we're going to go actually full cosmic horror monstrosities here because the show's fucking called True Detective. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was really effective then. They seem to have shied away a bit from that a little bit in season 2, season 3. I never saw season 3, but season 4, it's the fucking thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw season 3 and I couldn't tell you what happened in it. I mean, I know Mahershala Ali was really good in it. I remember thinking Stephen Dorff was surprisingly good in it, but in terms of what they were investigating, no idea. I mean, really, the True Detective is the friends we made along the way, obviously.
Yeah.
And, but actually, yeah, I mean, so the thing with True Detective, to me, the formula, such as it is, seems to be that you got two detective types, partners of a sort that are at odds and don't necessarily get along with each other, but kind of make up by the end. And they're investigating some sort of cold case type of crime, but also investigating their own traumas that they are carrying around with them. And that's maybe the True Detective is investigating your own trauma, because I think that the premiere of Night Country was really good. And I'm very interested where it's going from here. My big gripe on it is it felt like there was a lot of hats on hats in terms of how many things all these characters are haunted by.
Well, I mean, that's what it's about, right? I mean, that is the general conceit of the show is like, we're fucking carrying all this baggage, and that's it defines us. Yeah, that seems to be what's up with these guys.
But it could. There's something clean I could respect about having each character have one formative trauma that they're carrying around.
No one has just one character.
Even has two.
No one has one. How many traumas do you have? I got at least 3 or 4 somewhere in there.
I am not a fictional character carrying a detective show.
Fair enough.
My life can be more theme driven, but if I was on a TV, I would need to drive some plot.
I mean, and I guess the other thing of that is, like we're kind of leaving objective reality aside as well. Like, it can just be a fucking story when you've got, ice monsters and shit like that. So
yeah, but I mean, to do the roll call, you got, so Jodie Foster's the main character, right? And she is still the mother to her stepdaughter because her husband was killed in a drunk driving accident, and maybe another child also, because there's a thing where there's like a child hand in bed with her that disappears when she wakes up.
Yeah.
So she's haunted by a dead husband and possibly a dead child, and also this cold case that they didn't solve. And she's also got, it seems like, a failed relationship with John Hawkes, who was still like her police partner / underling.
Oh yeah, you think they were a thing? Did I miss that?
That's what I kind of got initially. And that she was like I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, he's like bragging about his mail order bride and shit to her. So maybe, I don't know. That's some Alaska shit I'm missing.
Yeah. And then you got the Navarro character, but Kelly Ray. So I never seen Kelly Ray in anything. Immediately striking, great screen presence. Yep. I'm very into her, but she's haunted by this cold case even harder than Jodie Foster, who's in denial about how she's been haunted by it. And she also had this strange quasi-supernatural experience with a soldier with half their head blown off, whispering mysterious things to her in Afghanistan. So she's haunted by war stuff and quasi-supernatural stuff there. And she's also dealing with a sister who's got mental issues that apparently her mother also was defeated by in some way. And so she's haunted by a family legacy of blah, blah, blah. There's just a lot of haunting there. And Fiona Shaw's actually talking to ghosts.
Yeah.
Who are doing full-blown David Lynch strobe light staccato movement dances to direct them towards dead bodies. There's more Twin Peaks here than there was in prior seasons of True Detective. And look, that's just awful lot of hauntings to track at once emotionally.
I mean, is the just sort of the abundance of hauntings, the orgy of hauntings that is going on here. Maybe I don't know, very much the point. It of course it is. It's got to be about that. It's about it's about emotional baggage, and it's about the things that we can't let alone. I had a friend lived in Alaska. One thing he told me about it was like there's only two people who live in Alaska, and that is people who are born there and people who are escaping from something. So I don't know.
I've heard a similar thing mentioned. Yeah, I've heard that
I might
before.
have mentioned it when we talked about insomnia or something like that. But it colors my perception of Alaska stories very much, especially ones like this that are kind of explicitly about things that keep bothering us. So that's where I'm approaching this from. I mean, I'm very excited after this first episode. I think this could be really cool. I think it's already clear this is probably not going to reach the heights of the original season of True Detective, which I'm one of those tiresome people that thinks that was kind of exceptional and wonderful and perfect and a high bar that very few things have ever caught. But even still, this is the most excited I've been about True Detective since we kind of got into season 2 a little bit and we saw it wasn't going to recapture the magic at all. So I'm very, very positive so far in this season. And nice thing about it, 6 episodes only. That's kind of cool.
6 episodes only. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I'm very down for that.
Yeah. I'm very much on the other side. I think I was falling out of love with season 1 as it went along. And I think actually the premiere of the first season of Fargo a few months later was sort of the nail in the coffin on that. This is how I actually want you to
really? Were they that
do
close?
detectives?
Were they that close? That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. They were both 2014. And I was like, this is sort of how I want you to do detectives wrestling with the darker side of the human experience and Baroque supernatural, almost cruelty is a thing. It can be handled with such a lighter touch. And that's one thing that True Detectives never had is a light touch with anything.
Oh, certainly not. No.
That means hat on dramatic hat on dramatic hat. That's what it's going to be. But again, the setting here is very more interesting than it's been in years past. I'm into the cast already. Obviously, you and I are big John Hawkes fans always, even though the character doesn't seem like too much yet. I said, this is the Jodie Foster vehicle, ostensibly, but I am sort of more taken by the professional boxer who's been in like one movie prior to this. That I'm more interested in her right off the bat. And I actually think the young guy, John Hawkes' son, that I've never seen that guy in anything before, but I'm kind of immediately impressed with him. Again, like a character that does not leap off the page, but somehow I'm finding him interesting.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe just because he's the only one whose trauma is not shoved in my face straight off the bat. So,
fair enough.
Like, oh, here's my normal guy. Maybe here's my identification character for the person who's not utterly haunted on 6 different sides. I'm sure he'll get there by the season's end, or he'll be dead. But 2 episodes,
probably dead. That's likely my bet. But you never know.
Yeah, probably.
And of course, there's this very committed John Carpenter's The Thing. Apparently, the main plot line of this show going on here. What do you make of that? What are we talking about here? Is this? They're not going to go all the way. I mean, this is not going to be what they're teasing it out to be.
No,
I mean, it just wouldn't be a detective show if it was that.
I mean, I kind of love this. I would appreciate the swing, like I was talking about the audacity there, like
I would too,
mix up this formula, especially because since I have no reverence for the True Detective brand at this point, like, yeah, I would love to see. I mean, I say that now. I would respect the swing. I'm not saying that I'll come back here and say, well, it's the best thing ever necessarily, because there are definitely ways to fuck that up.
Yeah.
I mean, like this, I don't know, this had 2 cold opens.
Yeah.
Is one sort of thing I have that are both sort of quasi, mysterious, like suggestive of the supernatural shenanigans going on. And one of them was just far more effective than the other. The research station introduction leading into the opening credits and then just coming into the aftermath after they've been missing for days. That's super effective stuff. Love that. CGI reindeer herd doing a lemming.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, yeah, bad.
Like, I don't know. I mean, there's going to be, like I said, I think there is going to be some sort of more supernatural element than years past. But I guess, yeah, if it's just a fucking Wendigo, then what is there for the police department to do?
Yeah. So that is kind of the interesting tension of this. And, obviously as a big proponent of the original season, I am here to see them try to thread that knot. And I'm optimistic that it can be done. I think 6 episodes is great. I love this cast. I love the setting. I am very down so far. And if they screw it up, so what? 6 episodes. So off to a good start, I think there. As to my expectations, I don't know that I don't know that I expect it to kick ass. Exactly. I would be pleasantly surprised if this was excellent, but good enough seems very doable.
Well, I mean, not having Pizzolatto around is a big step in the right direction for
Probably,
me.
Yeah.
Just about somebody who can't walk that fine line that I was talking about earlier, to my satisfaction. Again, obviously, the first season works a treat for many, many people, so I could be the outlier there. But yes, I'm pleased to say happy trails to him and let somebody else take a whack at this, whether that's Issa Lopez or Jodie Foster.
I mean, I think we mentioned this at some point. Mayor of Easttown basically could have just been True Detective, right? I mean,
oh, absolutely, could have been.
Could have just been a True Detective season, and that would have been fine. I guess I don't know, it was not conceived of as that way. It's probably the only reason it wasn't. At that point, I don't know. Maybe Pizzolatto was too attached to it still, but the concept of a cop solves a crime in a community, it's pretty elastic.
Yeah, I mean, for season 1, is that even in a community, really? Like, they're kind of outsiders to it.
To be,
that's not a big part of it.
The South?
No,
I don't know.
Yeah.
The swampy part of the South?
Honestly, it may have been, I may have appreciated more if it was just True Detective Easttown. Because I think even just one thing that's kind of hurt there for me is like sort of any suspense or tension around the main character when it's the title character. I'm like, all right, but you're not gonna kill Mare.
Well, she's still Kate Winslet. I mean, at the end of the day, she's still Kate Winslet. She's not gonna kill, just like they're not gonna kill Jodie Foster until maybe the 6th episode, but probably not.
Well, yeah, this is a 2-hander. You can kill one of them. That's a thing. I guess they did in the 2nd season, not the others.
Everyone dies in the 2nd season, I think.
Yeah.
Bad show. Yeah, bad season of TV, by the way. Bad season.
It's not good. I don't hate it as much as everybody else, just because I guess I don't think that the cliff that's dropping off is as high, but I enjoy some parts of that one. But no, this is okay. So one thing in that interview I mentioned, I hesitated, like, is this sort of spoilery territory? It's totally non-specific, but she talked about that how this was just sort of a detective story she was kicking around before it got branded with True Detective. And then she sort of reworked the whole character with Jodie Foster working with her. And one of the things that Jodie Foster's input was as they made her sort of like a worse person, Jodie became more.
I like that.
More of an anti-hero.
That's good.
But to hear the creator talk about this, was talking about how this is sort of like a genuinely bad person and I'm like, I didn't quite get that from the premiere. Like, I could
see the potential there, though. I mean,
she's a little racist,
it's
but not more so than I expect from a small town cop, I guess.
Right.
What,
well, I mean, compared to Mare of Easttown, what we were just saying, she does some evil shit in that show.
Yeah, no, that Bear does worse things than Jodie Foster's done so far, and yet my thing with that show, I think, was that I wasn't quite sure if the show thought that was as bad to begin with as I was. Again, that's another show that ended up being about forgiveness, that as an overarching theme that's also sort of cropped up in the finale episode that you didn't necessarily see coming for 7/8 of the series or whatever. The point is supposed to be Jodie Foster is this genuinely bad person. I still don't have any real doubts that she will be redeemed through this investigation.
Well, I don't know. You can be it takes a bad person to solve the crime. It could be one of those things.
Yeah, right.
I could do that.
That's a thing with like 70s male detectives.
Exactly.
You don't do that on TV with a female lead in 2020s.
Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I don't know. They could.
Not to be all Ben Shapiro about it, but that's just not that's not something they're selling these days. We'll find out, but I'll bet you $200.
No.
That she gets better as the season goes on, not worse.
Probably. Yeah. Fair enough. But I'm looking forward to it. Let's if it's good and interesting, we'll come back and talk about it. And if not, we won't. That's fine.
We'll mention it in some capacity.
Sure. Yeah. There you go. All right. I don't know. Watch anything else right now? That's kind of taps me.
I'm trying to get caught up on The Curse, but the cringe factor is so strong that I'll have to stop halfway through an episode sometimes and just be like, all right, I gotta steel myself up to watch the rest of this scene, because I know it's like there's 5 more minutes in this scene and it's gonna get worse. And now like finale spoilers have started to filter out there, and I know just that no specifics, but something big and crazy and kind of violent happens, and like, okay.
Well, I found out what happens, and it took all the wind out of my sails to watch this show. Let me put it that way. I was like,
but that was the wind in my sails was trying to figure out where are they going with this, because it is weird, and the tone does not fit the content for the first few episodes, and it seems like it's heading somewhere, but I'm not sure where. And kind of even knowing that much of like, okay, so there is going to be something. It's going to pay that off in some material way.
That sounds compelling and even interesting to me, though. Without if I didn't know what it actually was, I'd be like, ooh, there's a thing that happens. I'd be like down for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, would I be more knowing that there was no thing might take the wind out even more? But the tension there was sort of what was animating me. So I think I got to keep going just because it's interesting and unlike other things I've seen on TV.
Is it 30 minutes or 60 minutes?
Nathan Fielder. It's 60. I mean, 48 or 50 sometimes. Okay. It's 50 something. Yeah. That's another problem.
Okay, fair enough. I will not watch The Curse.
God, it's a 10 episode season. I wish it was a 6 episode season. I was closer to the end, but Benny Safdie is also really interesting in that.
I'm sure there's plenty of
what's going on with his
interesting
character.
Things in it. I'm sure. I'm not going to watch it.
Fair enough. I'm not going to try and convince you. Just watch True Detective with me. We'll come back and talk about that if we have to.
And yeah. If we do a True Detective episode, you can fill me on how The Curse play it for you.
Very well.
All right. Cool. Thanks for listening to us talk about TV shows. Fargo and True Detective. Crime on TV. There it is. It's good. Mostly.
Yes. Thanks for listening to us talk about cold detectives.